when the very first images of the show came out, and it showed something that very, very quickly and very, very often will piss off nerds, especially Tolkien nerds. They showed non-white people playing characters that clearly herald from parts of Middle Earth that, in the lore, should all be white people. Now, this is the first.
I mean, I don't.
Mauler.
What was that echoing? Or
No, I'm just
No,
saying
you're just
about
racist.
oh, right,
what's
yeah.
going
so,
on with the video here, Mauler. Is this accurate? Did you make a
what's-
video about the black people in Rings of Power?
Absolutely, several. That's how he knows. That's how he knows this is an opinion I have. So this is the thing. My let's pretend for a second I have zero context for any of this whatsoever. My first thought would be like, oh, so they're like really fucking nerdy then. And he'd be like, no, they're racist. And then I'd be like, huh? I thought you just said that they wanted it accurate to the law or whatever. And then he'd be like, yeah, but it just so happens they don't want to see white people. They only want to see white people, huh? And then I'd be like, oh, well, just out of curiosity then, Xander, I don't know if if you ever thought about this, like, would they get mad if they saw white people in Wakanda, for example? And if the answer is yes, then it looks like it's not about being racist necessarily. It looks like they really are just hyper nerds, which is a different thing. You can just criticize them for that. As for me, do I care about a black dwarf or black elf? I don't even. I'm not familiar enough with the lore to be able to tell you why that would be inaccurate. I, however, think that if, like, let's say I had all the arguments to know exactly why that would be inaccurate, it would have to have significant repercussions on the story. Say, for example, a character goes on a really important and meaningful journey related to their race, and then we've race swapped them. And so I guess you'd have to swap how the races in the story go for it to sort of work. But if they didn't, and they just like tried to awkwardly maintain a story but then change it all and fuck it up, it's kind of the thing I was trying to explain to people before. If you adapt half and half, let's say you take a couple traits because you like them and you don't take the rest of them, and then you complete the story as it was in the book or whatever source, and you haven't got those other traits that inform what later payoffs there are, and then it's just a disjointed mess as a result. Like, yeah, I think that it's important to keep an eye on why things were written in the source the way they were. You need to understand it before you break it. It's really like common saying, I think. And so yeah, this whole like this is the thing. I don't care that much. At the same time, I was a part of Friday Night Tights when they broke down the first two episodes for their first stream. I think it was like 6 hours. They talked about race for about 0.1% of the stream, if that. So
yeah, but that was their dog whistling. You don't understand.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So I don't know. I'm waiting for the argument for why it makes them racist as opposed to hyper nerds. Like I said, this is the thing.
Well,
I've had friends. I don't know if you guys have, where they'll
I
be
don't have
like,
any friends,
"This
no.
this character is supposed to have a beard in the book, but in the show, it's just like mutton chops. That's not good enough. It's supposed to be a full beard." It's like, what does that make them?
Right.
Fucking beardist? I don't know. Like it's yeah. This thing. I just see it as hyper nerd and stuff. And I'd make fun of people for that. That's fine. Go make fun of me for it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a jump for me for the race.
I think there's a few things going on. I mean, with what you're saying, I think that's definitely true if it impacts the story. I think a good example of that is in the Dark Tower movie, which I didn't like very much. But in the books, which I read and I liked, I like some of the books. They get kind of shitty at the end. But making Roland the main character black kind of fucks up a huge plot point, which is in the second book. He basically time travels and space travels to like 1940s or 1950s America, and he brings back a black lady who has multiple personalities, and one of her personalities is that she's super like racist against white people, and it's kind of like a huge plot point, and it causes all this conflict in the story. And you can't have any of that if you make the main character black, because then obviously she won't be racist against him. And so it seemed like that was, why are you sacrificing this huge plot point just for the sake of diversity, even though I like Idris Elba a lot and I think he was fine in the role. So I think that kind of applies to that. But in terms of like black dwarves and black elves, I don't really give a fuck about that at all, even though I know it doesn't fit with the lore. I care more about the making the Valerians black, just because it's such a huge plot point in Game of Thrones, like how the Valerians look. and the way that specific houses and specific people look in Game of Thrones is like brought up so much, where I don't know if that's really the case in Lord of the Rings. I mean, if there's black elves or black dwarves, I don't, you know.
That's
So
the
what?
thing. My familiarity with the source is kind of making me less able to
Yes,
sort of describe
right.
like the issue. But I'm with you on the what I've had it explained to me as well. What House of the Dragon having Corlys be black kind of screws up a future plot point. And this is the thing. This is what people usually talk about. They're like, if you do that, then you're gonna have to do this later on.
Yes,
Do you know
yes.
this? Do we do? And most of the time that they fucking don't. They're like, oh shit, yeah, but we'll just change it. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, because well, there's so much with the Valerians and the Targaryens having those features and those features being sought after. And then also, you know, whether those features have something to do with the genes of allowing certain people to ride and breed dragons and all this stuff. Like it's all like very intricate in George R. R. Martin's stuff, and to kind of just fuck with it, it's like, you know, I don't know. It seems bad to me, but I think the most, for the people that do complain about, you know, the black elves and black dwarves and stuff, I don't think for most of them, I'm sure there's some small percentage of actual racist people out there, but for the majority of people that complain about it, I don't think it's because they're racist. I think it's because it signals to them, and the way that this was marketed, it signals sort of that wokeness is winning some kind of cultural battle in Hollywood. And every time they see like Amazon puts out all this stuff or cast these people, because you know they didn't cast these people because they were the best actors. They cast them literally because they're trying to put diversity into everything. And it's sort of like poking people in the face, like, see, you know, see wokeness, see wokeness, see wokeness. And that's how they perceive it. And that's really what they're getting angry at.
That would be the question I think I would then pose to Xander. I'd be like, if you had a little wizard next to you that you trusted and knew all truth in the universe, and he told you, by the way, these guys aren't racist. Like I can tell, it's a. How do you deal with that? Basically, how does that fit into your worldview? If you knew for a fact that they weren't racist, so then you have to come to the conclusion, shit, they're just really nerdy.
Right.
Doesn't sound as powerful, does it, to make a video like these fucking nerds being nerdy? It's like, yeah, it doesn't have a bite to it.
No, that's true. That's true.
His whole channel exists to call people racist. So I mean, that's
he's learned well from
that's his goal.
Sector of the YouTube sphere. Right. That's what they've been taught to do.
And this analysis of this show is just another way that he can call people racist.
He needs to make a video saying how I managed to escape the alt-left pipeline.
Yeah.
One day, Xander, one day.
It's funny because another video that people sent to us they want us to do was someone who's even further to the left than Xander Hall, whose name escapes me, who looks like the most stereotypical, like hipster lefty imaginable. And he's criticizing Xander Hall, saying Xander Hall is really like a fascist sympathizer, and he's not left-wing enough.
Virgin Eggman, I think, is something people call him. I've seen at least a portion of his videos, some coverage of it. It's one of the fucking worst takedown videos I've ever seen in my entire life. It is so bad.
It's terrible. It's
absolutely hilarious. You guys probably should cover it. It's funny.
We might.
This has happened.
Then we'd have to defend Xander Hall, though, so I don't know.
You would.
Back when The Hobbit initially released, there were a few background characters that the Chuds claimed were forced diversity because they weren't white. They were literally just random human characters that were in the background of the Hobbit movies, like in some human cities. They complained about that, but because it was so to the side and not in the forefront, the Chuds didn't really get much momentum complaining about that. Even the Hobbit movies, as recent as they are.
By the way, like, I'm included in this collective, and I don't even remember the conversations about that. I'm sure they happened. I wasn't involved in any of them.
You chud.
My issues with the Hobbit are a little bit more complicated.
I guess someone was complaining about it. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember people
I'm willing
complaining
to agree
about
that
black people in the Hobbit. But
I'm sure it happened. It's just that, like, what else was said, Xander? When everyone criticizes the Hobbit, like, they're talking about a lot of other things, more substantive things, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And remind me, what the fuck is a chud? What is that?
It's a bad right-wing person.
What is forced diversity?
When you put in, it would be from whose perspective you need to ask.
Yeah, how are you asking this?
Well, he said it's they were complaining that having black people play characters that were traditionally played by white characters is forced diversity. Is that not forced diversity? I mean,
So that's the thing I wouldn't mind talking to him about if you were here as well.
Yeah, what is that?
Is it possible? Can we have forced diversity, or is it a myth? Is it nonsense?
Yeah, did they? I mean, so theoretically, they picked those actors because they thought they were the best actors for the job. Then
I guess that's what forced diversity is to me. It's like you're not picking someone based on the
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
best role. So I guess if it's a
Well-
background character, it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah, I would clarify as well that the forced part comes in, I would say, when the people who intended the story had no intention of, or rather you forced them to change a race because you wanted
If you
diversity points.
if you put an actor in there though that is for all intents and purposes like universally reviled just because they're terrible, it kind of makes it seem like it is just about the diversity.
no, definitely. Well, it's like
Yeah.
with what's the elf's name? Arduin.
Yeah.
Ardon.
I mean, I don't think he's that bad, but I mean,
Well, I don't
it's
know
like
if he's
a
a bad
block
actor.
of
I think-
wood. Yeah.
I think he's written terribly. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
was gonna say
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
anything to me yet. I'm still waiting for him to have character.
But if they went into this, if they had a script where they went to the casting and said, "We need to have a black elf,"
Yeah.
okay, and we're only going to look at black actors, that would be forced diversity because you're not saying like, "Oh, let's have a bunch of people audition and whoever's the best one gets the role."
He has a lot of screen time in episode 3, and I mean, it's not really. I mean, I'm not really feeling it. Like this is an
he's
award-winning
doing action.
performance here.
Doing action things. He gets sad when someone dies who he spoke to in one
Does he?
sentence.
I mean, okay.
He makes a sad face.
He
for
does
like
make a sad
second,
face, I think, yeah.
A sad emoji.
I just thought it was funny that all those guys were dying when it was like, do you remember, like me and Fringy when we were watching it, I was like, oh fuck, that was the guy who hated humans, right? And Fringy was like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, okay, he's dead. And who's the other one? The one that got hit in the neck. I was like, oh, that was the smelly one, I think. He was like,
Yeah.
oh.
I thought
yeah.
the hate humans and the smelly one was the same guy.
No, two different guys.
Oh, all these elves look the same to me. Okay.
Oh my god.
You racist.
The point being, of course, that they're paying off. Like, look how sad it is that our hero has to experience this horror, and it's just like, who the fuck were these people?
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, and it's annoying because it's kind of like the first episode you have the scene with Galadriel, with the ice troll, and it's like all the other elves suck except for Galadriel, and then we have the exact same scene in episode 3. Like,
yes.
all the elves except for the main elf guy suck, and I'm like, what? And
Yeah.
like I was so programmed in Game of Thrones and even The Hobbit, like all the elves basically kick ass, and to just see them all job to like random orcs it's so weird.
Yeah, it's very sad.
It's a bad show. But let's hear about how it's good.
Yeah.
Still held up non-political, non-diverse thing that the conservatives tend to like. Besides a little.
You notice, like, what's funny to me is that he sounds like he hears them to me. To better explain that, he like sees them all as saying the exact same thing all the time.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, when he talks about these issues, he sounds to me like every stale commentary from like fucking 6 years ago from every one of his like camp. This is
Yes.
boring
Yeah,
to
he's
me.
just repeating talking points. I don't think he really even understands what he's saying, but I mean, he's got
Well,
the talking points down.
I mean, the crazy thing is, when I went into this video, I thought he was going to be like, "This is why Rings of Power is awesome."
Yeah.
And he was going to lay out like an argument and talk about the things he liked in it, and then say, "If you didn't like this, it's because you're racist, right?" But he doesn't even do that. He's just like, "No, it's good. They're racist." It's like, well, wait, why is it good though?
Yeah, where's the good stuff? Tell us.
Well, yeah,
we want to know.
Yeah, we would click because it says you were lied to. Tell us about these lies.
Yeah.
on them.
Yeah, that's it.